The purpose of life, of course, number one, is to discover God and have a relationship with God. And life itself will teach you if you'll let it. Have a different spirit, a spirit of openness, a spirit of learning, a spirit of discovery. Unlike the world, as I said, when they suffer, they say, there's no meaning to this, I just want it to go away. Rather, allow it to teach you. Let it take you from the superficial to the supernatural. And we all have it. In fact, in the big book is kind of like Alcoholics Anonymous' Bible. In the big book, Bill Wilson, who founded Alcoholics Anonymous, Bill W., he had a section in there called We Agnostics. And he talked about how he was an agnostic. Agnostics want to believe in God, but they just don't know who God is. And he counseled other people who are coming into the program. Maybe you're not a believer, but you can become a believer through your addiction. And he talks about just have the willingness to believe. And I go like this because it's a mustard seed. Faith begins really small. Just have the willingness, and it can grow into something much bigger. So that's how you turn your scars into stars, by allowing your scars, your addictions, your afflictions, your sufferings, to help you to discover God. That's exactly what happened in my life. It's happening in the life of millions of people who are addicted right now. They are becoming spiritual. They are finding spirituality. They are having a relationship with God. I know in the Catholic Church, many people that had fallen away from the Catholic Church, they were born and brought up Catholic, then they got into an addiction of some sort, came back to the church. And that happens in all denominations. So there is a purpose, there is a reason. And I've heard people talk about life and suffering, and they say, well, you know, you gotta just, life deals you certain cards, and you just, the way it is. Well, I think that that's kind of a fatalistic philosophy. Life deals you certain cards, and that's just the way it is. That's fatalistic. It's kind of resigning your life to just what is, what is. You got to deal with it as it comes. And whatever you get, you get. I like what the French philosopher Voltaire said. He lived in the 1700s. Get this. It's not about the cards that you've been dealt. It's about the way you play the hand. That is so good. We've all been dealt certain cards. It's a gift, by the way. And it's not about the cards that you've been dealt. It's about how you play the hand. Every once in a while, I'm flipping around on TV, and I'm kind of surfing. And I'll flip into these poker tournaments. I don't know if you've ever watched it, but it's fascinating because they play for big money. Well, anyway, during the poker tournament, you know, they show the viewers what cards everybody's got. And sometimes people with the worst hands, they can have like a 2 and a 3, which are pretty much the worst hand that you can have. They can beat other players that have stronger hands by bluffing and by going all in. See, it's not the cards that you've been dealt, it's how you play your hand. And I want you to get that. Don't say, woe is me, and get into self-pity because these are the cards that I've been dealt. Take the cards that you've been dealt and go all in. Be passionate. Be proactive. Be better, not bitter, and you can do it. And that's one of the reasons why suffering comes to us, so that we can develop character, that we can mature, that we can become all that we can be, that we can realize our potential, not because of the suffering, but in spite of the suffering. I've shared in other programs how growing up I've had panic attacks, and I've had hardships, I've had physical problems, and they haven't made me pursue my dreams, but in spite of them, they're not going to stop me. Fear's not going to stop me. Acne's not going to stop me. Physical ailments aren't. And that's what Paul was driving at. He said, we were so unbearably crushed, we thought we were going to die, but that was to make us rely upon God. And that's exactly what I've done in my life. Instead of relying upon myself all the time, in a healthy way I do, but I'm not God, and neither are you. Rely upon God. Get your roots deep in God. And it's not just the cards that you've been dealt, it's how you deal with them. I think about a woman named Johnny Erickson. I saw her on TV one time in a Billy Graham crusade. Johnny was a young woman, healthy, and one day she loved to swim. She went out diving, and she thought the water was deeper than it was, and as she dove into the water, actually it was pretty shallow, and she ended up breaking her neck and ended up as a paraplegic. Here's this beautiful young woman with a lot going for her. She was an artist, and she ended up in a wheelchair as a paraplegic, unable to move her hands or her feet or anything, all because of a freak accident. So is that the cards that you've been dealt? Well, I like what she did with the cards. She decided to play them and to go all in. She had a writing talent and an artist-type talent. So she learned how to draw, not with her hands, not with her feet, because she couldn't move them, with her teeth. And she draws just as beautifully as she would have with her hands. Took some time to learn how to draw with your teeth, but she didn't let her disability stop her. Rather, instead of being bitter, she became better. And not only that, she's a great witness because that suffering helped her to get her roots deep into God. She not only believes, but she loves God in a deep personal way. I've seen her at a Billy Graham conference on television in front of tens of thousands of people giving a witness to Christ and how she gave her life to Christ and how Jesus is Lord of her life. And so you're probably not in a wheelchair. Maybe you are, but you're probably not a paraplegic. But you can make the best of your sufferings in your life no matter what you're going through. I think about a man that I met named Vale Horton. Vale was born without legs, and he only has one arm, and the arm that he has doesn't even bend. He had some kind of a disease in his mother's womb, and as I said, he was born without legs. It was a horrible condition. But Vale has a very different spirit. He's a believer. He loves the Lord. And he actually, what he did is he's an entrepreneur. He founded a company called Keen Mobility. And they've developed mobility aids for people that are disabled, such as wheelchairs, walkers, canes, crutches. So what he did is he took his disability and he became with a new ability. He took his affliction and did something with it. He developed a company called Keen Mobility. And in the same way, you can turn your scars into stars, your hurts into halos, and you can go from the superficial to the supernatural. With God's help, you can be proactive and you can be passionate and you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. You are a child of the Most High God. No matter what affliction you have, you are royalty. That's what the Bible says. You are a royal nation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people called out of darkness to proclaim the greatness of our God. And you have dignity. You have honor. No matter what your affliction. Maybe you're thinking, well, I'm too old now and nobody wants me and I'm lonely. That's not true. You are royalty. You are a child of the Most High God. So don't give up. Don't give in to despair and don't give in to self-pity. God is with you. God will help you. And get your roots deep in God. Viktor Frankl wrote a book that was life-changing for me. It was called Man's Search for Meaning. He was an Austrian psychiatrist, psychologist, held in a Nazi concentration camp. He saw the worst. He saw people give up, self-pity, commit suicide because of how bad the concentration camp was. But he also saw people at their best, giving away their bread, helping others. And then he came as a psychiatrist, as a psychologist, he came to an understanding that no matter what your circumstances are, the greatest of all human freedoms is the ability to choose the way you want to be in any given set of circumstances. And I really like that because it's not the circumstances, it's not the cards that you've been dealt, it's not the sufferings that determine who you are. You determine who you are. By your choices, by your decisions, Do you want to be far from God? Or do you want to be rooted in God? Do you want to be in self-pity? Or do you want to be better? I love what Tim Hensel said, even in the midst of my pain, I could choose joy. Turn your scars into stars. Go from the superficial to the supernatural. Go beneath the surface. Sufferings have meaning. The world says they don't, but we are of a different spirit. And the meaning that they have is that they root us in God. We discover God in a new personal way. We grow in our attitude, and it softens us, and it helps us to develop our relationships. And we become all that we can be, proactive and reaching out to other people. So I tell people all the time, don't just live with passion. When I talk about that, I mean get rooted in God so that when that final storm comes, you will stand strong, be passionate, be better, not bitter. And don't just live with passion. You can turn your scars into stars. Don't just be superficial, go to the supernatural. That's what sufferings do. I got a letter from a woman. She said, I am hooked on your program, Father Cedric. All I know is that you start my week on a positive note. You challenge me to become all that God created me to be. I love that. And then she said that she got cancer, but the cancer caused her to get rooted in God. That's exactly what I was talking about. I wrote a book years ago called Live Passionately. It has a butterfly on the front because your sufferings can transform you into someone new. And I talk about the purpose and the meaning of sufferings, and sufferings have meaning. This book will really help you, no matter what you're going through, tell all kinds of stories in there. Anytime you purchase one of my books, or the DVD of this series, A Different Spirit, or make a donation, it supports my television programs to be broadcast everywhere. Through TBN all around the world, through other networks, it's going out. And I'm trying to help people to bring them into a personal relationship with Jesus. So, love to hear from you. Call my order line number. Go to my website. You can order there, make a donation there, or just simply write me. I love hearing from you. Some of you have been watching my programs for years, and I've never heard from you. Please, let me hear from you. I get so encouraged by your letters, by your donations, and when you purchase my resources. Thank you in advance. Don't just live with passion.
Don't just live passionately. Jesus came to bring us abundant life, a life filled with joy, hope, and purpose. For over a decade, Father Cedric has been sharing the life-changing message of hope with people around the world. As a priest with a vow of poverty, Father Cedric's programs and resources are created with one purpose in mind: to change lives. Would you consider calling and giving today? It's only because of generous people like you who can give we are able to reach multitudes. Every day, we hear life-changing testimonies from people who watch us on television. As always, we treasure the support of our partners. As a priest with a vow of poverty, you can know that 100% of your donation will go directly toward producing and airing Live with Passion. To partner with us, call 844-FATHER-C. That's 844-328-4372. Or go to fathercedric.org. Write us at Father Cedric Ministries, 430 Bunker Hill Road, Houston, Texas, 77024. Thank you.